Manitoba.
The message from the Conservatives was that the Liberals of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau are not taking seriously enough the threats posed by illegal migrants. And one MP said the government needs to protect the integrity of Canada's borders. But some residents of Emerson, which has seen a flood of asylum seekers since the beginning of the year, were angered by the MPs, saying they were stirring up hatred and discrimination. One resident said Trudeau had opened the gate, welcoming people like Canadians always have. But others argue that people should come to Canada legally. It's become a sensitive issue in this border town, with hundreds of asylum seekers crossing from the U.S.
To be inspired, be original, and be yourself at mainquarterly.com and Americans for the Arts at americansforthearts.org.
Producing director of The Moth, and I'll be your host this time. At The Moth, people tell true stories from their lives at bars, clubs, and theaters all around the country. They tell their stories without scripts or notes. In this hour, we have 4 stories for you. We'll hear from a Detroit-born journalist who realizes when he returns home that everything has changed. We'll hear 2 slam stories from a Russian boy finding his way, and our first story by Lauren Slater. Lauren is a psychologist and author who specializes in mental illness and women's health. She told her story in Boston, and the theme that night was Out on a Limb. Here's Lauren Slater live at The Moth.
It starts off on a serious note. Actually, it's pretty serious the whole time. No, seriously, 4 years ago. There's no way of doing this. Okay, 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Okay, so you can't laugh about that. We all know, because we've all been blessed or cursed with frontal lobes, that we're gonna die. That's something that human beings all know about. But there's moments in your life when the plane goes bumpy, or you're choking on a chicken wing, or where you get a diagnosis of breast cancer, when you realize with a real visceral intensity that your life is going to end, and that you're really no more than a series of seconds that are adding up pretty quickly. I also had one young child, 2 years old at the time, and I did not want to die. It's interesting because when you become a parent, really the most important, your life is no longer the most important thing, which is a huge relief and probably a really good reason to have kids. But I didn't want to die before my child turned 18 years old, and I didn't die. The cancer was cured, so to speak, and life went on. After the diagnosis of breast cancer, speaking of Freud, actually, I had always heard that you can't die in your dreams, that's a psychological impossibility. But after the diagnosis and the treatment of the breast cancer, really and truly, I started to die in my dreams. And it was quite remarkable. And one dream that I had was that I was in a rocket ship, a small rocket ship. It was just about my size, and I was scrunched up in it, and I was speeding through space, going on and on and on and on and on, past the planets and out into the darkness, and I was awake in the dream, but I also realized in the dream that I was awake, but I was also dead, and that this was death. Death was speeding in a rocket ship through space, a kind of infinite insomnia. His idea of nature is like a waterfall on a screensaver, okay? So he says to me one day, I really want to move to Mendocino, California and become an organic farmer. Towards fall, I was walking the land and I felt something strange beneath my feet. And I went, for some reason, I just went and I got a hoe from the shed and I to the land. And instead of dirt coming out, this